A funny story of naming a church. Sam, names shape everything about who we are, but when Second Baptist Church needed to relocate, nobody expected their biggest challenge would be choosing what to call themselves.
That's fascinating, Pappy, because most people would assume the main hurdles would be financial or logistical. What made the name such a critical issue?
Well, Sam, you know how identity becomes intertwined with history? This church had been Second Baptist Church of College Park since forever. First on Main Street, then Norman Drive in 69. The name carried decades of memories.
Hmm, wow. So it's like trying to rename your childhood home. There's this deep emotional connection that goes beyond just words on a sign.
Right, Sam. And here's what makes this story so interesting. When faced with this challenge, the church leadership did something pretty unconventional. Instead of making an executive decision, they opened up the naming process to everyone.
Oh, wow. That could either be brilliant or create chaos. How many suggestions did they get?
Dozens. And get this, one person suggested Second Baptist Church of College Park, Fayetteville, Georgia, trying to preserve every single piece of their history in one marathon name.
You know what that reminds me of? When Prince became the artist formerly known as Prince. Sometimes we try so hard to hold on to the past that we end up with something completely impractical.
Right, Sam. And speaking of impractical, here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. One of our staff members noticed this bizarre coincidence. They were moving from a former dairy to a location next to another dairy.
Let me guess. Someone tried to milk that connection for all it was worth.
Funny, Sam, they suggested naming it the Utter Baptist Church. And while that's not going to work for a house of worship, it shows how people were trying to find meaning in every aspect of this transition.
That's such an interesting psychological response to change, using humor to process uncertainty.
And you know what's fascinating about organizational name changes? Studies show that companies that undergo name changes typically see a 2.5% decrease in stock value immediately after. People are naturally resistant to this kind of change.
That's telling about how much weight names carry. So, what did they finally decide on?
They landed on Mcdonough Road Baptist Church. Simple, location based, practical. But here's what makes this story so relevant. According to recent studies, about 15% of religious institutions in America are considering significant changes, including relocation or merger.
So, this isn't just about one church, it's about how communities navigate change while maintaining their core identity.
Exactly. And research shows that organizations that involve their members in major decisions like this have a 76% higher success rate in implementing significant changes.
Well, that certainly validates their approach of making it a community decision.
You know what's particularly interesting? In organizational psychology, they call this type of transition a identity reformation process. It's not just about changing a name, it's about helping a community reimagine itself.
That's fascinating. So, it's almost like the process itself becomes a kind of community therapy.
Precisely. And studies show that communities that go through these collaborative decision making processes show increased engagement and membership retention rates of up to 23% higher than those that don't.
So, in a way, what could have been their most significant challenge became their greatest opportunity for growth.
And here's the kicker, they managed to turn what could have been a divisive process into something that strengthened their community bonds. It's like that old saying about how the journey matters more than the destination.
Though I bet they're still getting mileage out of that utter Baptist church suggestion.
Funny, you know what, Sam? Sometimes the stories of how we handle change become just as important as the changes themselves. They become part of our shared narrative.
And looking ahead, Pappy, what do you think other organizations can learn from this?
Well, the data suggests that organizations that approach significant changes with inclusive decision-making processes are 3.4 times more likely to succeed in their transitions. It's about recognizing that sometimes the softer emotional aspects of change require just as much attention as the practical ones.
That's powerful, Pappy. The idea that success isn't just about the result, but about how you bring people along on the journey.
And as we wrap up, Sam, I think that's the real lesson here. Change isn't just about new names or new buildings. It's about understanding how communities process transition and finding ways to make that journey meaningful for everyone involved.